What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Fantasy Alarms Meet the Family live streams. I'm your host, Howard Bender. With me today, look at him. Just look at him right now. All big smiles there. This is what happens when you are not one, but two-time winner for the wonderful FSWA Racing Writer of the Year. You guys know him from all the NASCAR work at Fantasy. He does everything. I'm talking baseball. I'm talking football. I'm talking NASCAR. If I asked him to do anything with esports, I'm sure he would do that as well. Maybe a little iRacing coming up. Who knows? But none other than Matt Selz. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Been cooped up in this apartment of ours for a couple of weeks. We're not under official stay-at-home orders, but we've just been playing it safe. The two kids have been out of school since, I don't know, like 3 weeks now, it feels like. Maybe it was only a week and a half, but it feels like three. Uh, they had spring break, and then during spring break, they canceled school for the following week. And then at the end of that week, they said it's closed until further notice, which basically most likely means the rest of the school year. So they're stuck with us until August now. So that's fun.
Let's talk about that because if anybody caught my getting buzzed episode yesterday, the pilot episode launched yesterday. I was talking about the need for day drinking, and one of the things clearly, I mean, parents homeschooling their kids. You have two daughters. How old are your daughters?
One just turned 6 on the 22nd, so this past Sunday. And the other one is about 3.5 and has an attitude the size of, I don't know, about a 16-year-old. So
Okay, so right off the bat, are you day drinking a little, Matt? Are you nipping at the sauce?
I started drinking fairly early last night, like within 5 minutes after they went to bed. I cracked open a Sam Adams Mountain Berry, which was really quite tasty. And yeah, that was fun. So I'm gonna have to make a liquor run here if I want to continue to day drink because we are woefully low on on anything alcoholic. Got two Sam Adams left in the fridge, and that's about it right now.
What do you think about investing in a keg? I mean, right? Bucket, ice, you go out and you get ice, you just keep it cold. I mean, tell everybody where you are. I mean, obviously we can see in your background there, but everybody
Yeah,
knows it's a green screen. Unfortunately, though, that's
that's
not a
not
green
actually
screen for
that far
you.
off the truth though, because I could go 3 blocks south of my apartment, and that would be the scene basically. I live in Lincoln, Nebraska, the southern part of Lincoln, Nebraska. So yeah, we're real close to cornfields.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it's we can literally have chickens on our property in city limits here. We can have up to 3 chickens. So yeah, it's a little bit country.
Is that well, that's a good thing you're also a little bit rock and roll too.
Yes.
What's up with the chicken ordinances? Because I live in some farming country out here in Northern California. I got people with chickens on their property, no worries. They got chicken coops. They got some chickens running around the place. Is there like a city ordinance going on in Lincoln where you can't have more than three chickens?
Yeah, there's a city ordinance. So you can have like a coop on your property, but it can't be populated by more than 3 chickens. Um, 3 living chickens. So I'm guessing if they hatch eggs, those don't count. But yeah, 3 chickens, that's enough for them. But luckily, we're not that far from city limits. So if we go about a half a mile, we could probably have a chicken coop with unlimited amount of chickens.
Okay, well, interesting. Do you have any chickens on your property right now?
I don't. I
Okay.
don't. We live in an apartment, but the apartment has 2 cats, a frog, 2 fish, and a 65-pound dog, plus 4 humans. So that's kind of a lot for a 2 bedroom apartment.
That is kind of a lot. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, listen, two of those humans are kind of small. I mean, let's face
Yeah,
it.
the dog equals the weight of both humans combined. So both children combined. So yeah, they're on the smaller end of the spectrum.
Yes, they definitely are. Although, I get to hear them on the live streams before we check in. So, I mean, they don't sound small. They sound.
No, no, they in ego and attitude they are not small.
Well, shout out to your girls. Absolutely adore them. Big shout out to your wife as well for obviously occupying them here during this live stream so that you can take a break from the homeschooling. You can join us here. I mean, let's talk about this. The whole concept of these, and guys, we're broadcasting these on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope. You can watch them on Twitter when we pop them up. So one of the things that we wanted to do, we just wanted you guys to get to know us a little bit. This is like the opportune time. We're in very unprecedented times right now where we're all in lockdown, and with no sports, the question is well, what's the reason to keep coming back, and what's the reason to keep subscribing to Fantasy Alarm? And not only are we continuing with as much content as we possibly can, and thank you for the NFL and all the free agency they're adoring us with. I feel that we've got a community environment in Fantasy Alarm where it's more than just writers and subscribers. It's more than just analysts and people who pay for advice. It's really it's much more of a family oriented thing, and I really love the culture that we have cultivated there. So getting a chance to know Matt Selz and everything about him will probably then make his writing that much more enjoyable when you start winning money on NASCAR DFS again, and you're like, you know what? And he's the nicest freaking guy I've ever seen before. So I definitely dig on that. Matt, let's start off with your history here. Born and raised where? Because you didn't start in Lincoln.
No, I was born in Princeton, New Jersey. Lived there for the first 3 years of my life, and then my dad got a job down in Washington, D.C., originally working for the Department of Energy, actually. And then I spent the rest of my youth in the D.C. suburbs in Northern Virginia. If you all have watched the movie Remember the Titans, which I'm sure you have, T.C. Williams High School was actually in my district. We played them in like every sport when I was going to high school. And then went to, as if you can't tell from the shirt, I went to K-State for undergrad, Kansas State. And then just kind of stayed out in the Midwest because I liked it out here a lot better, and it's cheaper than living in DC. And there's no traffic, which is a big time bonus because, yeah, traffic is not fun in DC. Like, it's just not. I lived 10 miles from an internship that I did when I was in high school and never got into or out of work and back home faster than 45 minutes. The traffic was that bad. So,
Yeah, it doesn't sound good.
yeah, no, it's not fun. And the car didn't have air conditioning. And DC summers are hot. Like, they're like 95 degrees and 90% humidity. So they're hot. And I had to wear a suit and tie for this internship. So it got to the point where I had to like just keep a spare suit in the office and change into the suit when I got to work. Cause car with big windows comes in handy, but if you're not moving fast enough to create a breeze, it doesn't cool you down at all.
Which brings us to our first segment here on the Fantasy Alarm live stream. It's called Name That Smell.
Yeah.
No. All right. So what turned you to K-State? Was there a particular study that you were doing? Is there, a course catalog that intrigued you?
Yeah, so since I was in about second grade, I had always wanted to be an architect. And K-State at the time they were ranked fifth in the country for architecture. And the four schools ahead of them were schools like Harvard, Cornell, MIT, ones I wasn't going to get into nor could afford to go to. So I went to K-State originally for architecture and then decided it wasn't for me, and then switched and basically wound up majoring in economics.
Okay.
During the 2008 financial crisis, which is an interesting time to study economics.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that was great. Which
never cracked open a textbook. Just went to Yahoo Finance and looked at the headlines and studied why that was happening.
All right, well there you go. So that I'm sure that you guys are nice and stable in what is likely to be a nightmare economy coming up for us here. Though architecture, I kind of dig on that. Obviously, growing up, I was a big fan of Mike Brady of the Brady Bunch, and he was an architect there. Although I kind of question your architectural dreams here. It sounds almost very George Costanza-ish, if I'm being honest, that suddenly you just run around pretending to be an architect. Were you a latex salesman at any point?
I did not sell latex, no. But yeah, I mean, architecture is great. I still like to, dabble in in it a little bit. I don't profess to be an architect. I just decided that, the career path is a lot longer than people think it is. So you graduate with an architecture degree, and then you have to be an apprentice for like 4 or 5 years. And then once you actually become a full-fledged architect, a lot of it is about being sued. If something doesn't go right with the building, it doesn't usually come back to the engineer. It usually comes back to the architect. And I just didn't think that sounded a whole lot of fun. So chose a different path that sounded a little better to me.
I'm just going to put you to the test here real quick. Explain to everybody what a flying buttress is.
Okay, so a flying buttress basically helps to take the pressure off of the roof line, and it's usually used in Gothic style architecture. So if you see like the medieval cathedrals in Europe, a lot of them have flying buttresses. It's a support mechanism for the roof, essentially, so it doesn't come falling down, because that would not be good.
Hey man, I already knew what one was. I just wanted to make sure you did. There's just, a little verification here. This is like, what's 2 + 3? Are you a robot? You tell me.
Oh, so it's a CAPTCHA test? Is that what we're doing?
That's exactly what that was. Exactly what that was. Really good friend of mine went to K-State also, so mazel tov on you there. But all right, so architecture didn't pan out. Learning the economy in 2008. Talk to me here, Matthew Selz. How did you come to be with the Fantasy Alarm?
So, after taking economics classes at K-State, I decided that I think my real passion was getting involved in sports. So I went and took an online master's program from Canisius College up in Buffalo, because I certainly wasn't going to live in Buffalo, New York for 2 years, because that's not a good. Sorry there, Greg Jewett, who lives in Syracuse, but I'm not living in Buffalo. That's just not appealing. So I did that, and meanwhile I was, getting experience doing internships for the Kansas City Sports Commission, helped put on a marathon there, worked for a couple of different NCAA athletic departments, and that was pretty fun. And then, when my now wife and I got serious, dating wise and whatnot, Drew Phelps, who you may know, is the PGA writer here for Fantasy Alarm. He's also the producer for the SiriusXM Fantasy Alarm show. He is actually my cousin-in-law now, because he's my wife's cousin. So he reached out to me and said, hey, we're looking for a couple of new guys to do some notes for, player news, and kind of put a fantasy spin on it, what it means fantasy-wise or DFS-wise. And it could bring you some extra pocket change. So I said, okay, that sounds fun. And then, got put in contact with Howard, who gave me a test run on the notes. My first note was about a Mets player. Might have been David Wright. I don't fully remember. All I do remember is that I finished it by calling them the Metropolitans, as a nice throwback. And then from there, I basically did notes for the first several months I was on the team. This was about 5 years ago now. Along with one Mr. John and Pemba. We were on the notes team together. I think James Grande was on the notes team there with us. And then I dabbled a bit in the news team, because we used to do overnight news, where we'd actually pay somebody to go and sit in front of Twitter in the overnight hours and put up any breaking news that happened.
So grueling, so so ridiculously grueling. Like, I don't think people really understand that. Like,
when I mean
now
overnight, I mean like midnight to 3 a.m. Eastern. You're just sitting there scrolling through the Fantasy Alarm Twitter feed for 3 straight hours, and any news that comes up, you got to link it to the site and then write the note about it as well. So it's not just posting headlines. You're doing double duty. And then from there, started doing some baseball writing, some NFL writing, then NASCAR. I think we got going in the middle of the 2016 season, I think, if I recall correctly. And yeah, so it just all kept moving up the ladder for me.
All right. Well, and listen, we love having you. You're an integral part of this family, and you always have that seat at the big kids table now. We don't push you over to the card table in the side, hanging out over there. So, all right, let's talk about it. So, baseball wise, your specialty is actually the minor leagues. Now, all right, you know what? Before I even get to what you cover and stuff like that, let's talk about the fact you guys out there have no clue what this guy's spreadsheets look like. If you're watching this right now, let me just tell you, Matt Selz, you're in is it a 20 team league?
It's down to 18. We lost 4 members, but gained 2, so we're down to 18. But when I joined the league about 7-8 years ago, I was the 23rd owner in the league at the same time.
And how big are the rosters?
There we just changed, so I think it's 23 active roster spots and 14 bench spots.
Okay, so
and
pretty substantial.
We don't use 7 major league teams.
Why don't you use 7 major league teams?
Because we don't want to create the ability to put together super teams. And so we keep a ratio of MLB players to, there's a certain way we've calculated it, but basically if we add a 19th team, we get to add another MLB team, and the league votes on which one gets added. And basically the maximum size of the league is 25 teams in our league, because that would give us all 30 MLB teams.
Okay, so which teams don't you use?
So we don't use Miami, we don't use Houston, we don't use Colorado, Kansas City, Minnesota, Milwaukee, and then Detroit and San Francisco just got kicked out this year when we lost 2-0.
Wow. So the team that led the league in home runs last year, without
200 something,
without any like marquee superstar names, even. I mean, let's face it, the Twins put together a ridiculous season. So you don't use them. I mean,
Nope.
The Astros, I think we can all be thankful and happy that
we used to have the Astros. We had them for 1 year, and then our league shrank and they got kicked out.
Was it 2017 that you used them?
Might have been 2016.
Oh, I think we need a ruling here.
Before they started cheating.
Unbelievable. So no Twins, no Brewers. Kansas City.
The reason for the Brewers is because Ryan
doesn't matter. What?
Said as long as Ryan Braun is on the Brewers, I don't think anybody in our league is going to vote the Brewers in, because Ryan Braun's a douchebag.
Why is Ryan Braun a douchebag? Come on, man.
And then threw the delivery guy under the bus and made a fake website to proclaim his innocence, and yeah.
Wow. No. The fake website, that was Melky Cabrera.
Oh yeah, Cabrera had the fake website. Braun, the Jewish guy, threw the delivery guy under the bus.
The Jewish guy. I'm the Jewish guy.
So am I.
I know. Right? Now
why we both knew he wasn't that athletic.
You sound like that guy at the Thanksgiving Day table that nobody wants to hear him talk. You're like, yeah, that guy. You know what I'm talking about, the Jewish fella. Him. Wow. Like I can get behind no Detroit, no Kansas City. Like Houston, that's a big deal. You've got some marquee names there. Minnesota, what they did last year, that's kind of a big deal.
We used to have Minnesota too, and they got kicked out the same year Houston did.
All right. Well, this is one of the more complex leagues, and Matt built himself a spreadsheet that he uses on draft day. And I mean, I wish you had, I wish we printed things out still that you could like hold it up for the crowd to see. But this thing is literally the most intimidating spreadsheet. Like there are economists who don't use spreadsheets this complex. It's
about
insane.
45. It's about 45 separate tabs on Excel, and everything is automated. So I just have to put in 4 pieces of information when a player gets drafted, and it crosses him off of about 4 different lists and adjusts things automatically and changes inflation and values and ranks. And yeah.
What's your nerd quotient?
I don't know, but I do know that the spreadsheet has helped me cash 5 of the 7 years that I've been in the league.
Oh, I'm not saying that a high nerd quotient won't rake in the bucks for you. I'm telling you that.
I don't know. I'm pretty proud to be a nerd, though. Comes in handy.
It definitely comes in handy. All right. So yes. And for those of you out there, let me just say this right now. Follow at the Salesman. It's right there, right underneath Matt's name, right there. Follow him on Twitter. Okay, and I'll tell you this. I mean, call it a side hustle or whatever, but if you need a spreadsheet that's going to win your league, reach out to Matt. Twitter. You could maybe email him. Do we have an email? Do we have a Fantasy Alarm email for you? I don't want to give out your personal email here,
Yeah,
but I'll tell you what. Follow him on Twitter.
Matt.Selz at fantasyalarm.com.
Oh, is it Matt.Selz at fantasyalarm.com? You want him to create a spreadsheet for you? This is the guy to talk to. 100%.
NFL ones this year too.
Guy's he's a mad scientist. A mad scientist. All right. So for baseball, you cover all of our minor league stuff. You handle the prospect run. Do you have more of an affectation for kids in the farm system over the guys up top? Not talking just Ryan Braun, because again, not your favorite. Gotcha. But do you prefer them dealing with the minor leagues?
In terms of drafting or writing about them? Because drafting, it hasn't actually changed my strategy at all. I still focus on the guys that are proven at the MLB level. In fact, if you read through the draft guide, I also wrote the piece about why you can't trust rookies, especially this year. Don't draft rookies this year because this shortened season, if we get one, is going to be a disaster. But yeah, I still draft, guys who are proven in the major leagues. I might take late auction flyers on the younger guys, but most of my budget goes to proven guys. Now it has made me a lot better at getting prospects and red shirts that other guys might not know about at that point, because a lot of our league only focuses on the top 100 prospects. So, for example, I got Noah Syndergaard before he was a Met. I got him when he was still a Blue Jay and not a top 100 prospect, and then he was dealt to the Mets in the R.A. Dickey trade, which is ironic because R.A. Dickey didn't have a UCL, and now Syndergaard's torn it twice. Yeah. I got Walker Buehler before he was a top 100 prospect.
All right, so you like mining the minors. You like diving in deep and finding those guys.
I do, because in our league you can hold guys for 3 years, and the first year you bring up a prospect, they cost nothing. So last year, I didn't bring up Buehler the first year he was up, which was 2018. I held him on my bench, and then I brought Buehler up last year for the first full season, and I didn't have to pay anything for Walker Buehler last year.
Oh, yeah, well, Mazel Tov. Yeah. Great.
Finished second.
Whatever. So you only finished second. Well, there you go.
Yeah, only because the guy that finished first got 4 dudes who had career years.
Boo, 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 boo. I'm sorry.
Second year, I finished second.
Is there a particular thing that you're looking for when you start mining the minors like that, and you grab a guy like Syndergaard, and when he was back with Toronto and he wasn't in the top 100 prospect list, is there a particular thing that you're looking for in a player that puts you, tilts you onto their radar a little bit more?
Yeah, I'm generally looking for, it's not always about the high velocity guys. It's about the guys that can strike guys out without walking them. For me, that's usually what I look at for pitchers. Because if you can strike guys out, you can tend to work around mistakes a lot better, and you'll keep your ratios down. Velocity is helpful, but I also know that the guys that throw higher velocity also tend to get hurt more. So there's a balance there. But for hitters, it's more so trends. I'm looking for guys that actually get better as they go up and don't just stay the same or, get worse. But I've had a few misses. Like I had Jorge Mateo on my, prospects when he stole something like 80 bags when he was a Yankees farmhand in the low minors. He stole 80 bags in like 110 games or something before they dealt him to Oakland. And then I let him go because he was getting worse as he climbed the, he couldn't hit worth anything. I'm not even sure he batted his weight at one of the steps. So I let him go, and now he had a rebound of a year last year, and so that might bite me. But that's generally what I'm looking at. For hitters, I like well-rounded guys. I tend not to go that deep into catchers, although there's a couple of catchers I really, really like right now. aside from
Don't
Adley
say Joey
Rutschman.
Bart. You can't use him. Don't say
No, I
Joey
mean,
Bart.
aside from Adley Rutschman, which is everybody's favorite catcher, mine included. There's a couple of good catchers. I'm not gonna let them go yet because my league hasn't drafted, and I don't know if any of my fellow league owners are watching because a couple of them are FA subscribers specifically to see what my prospect list looks like.
Isn't that the way? Like that was the one
Yeah.
thing that I never understood because for years, I mean, in these, in my home leagues, and and I'm just putting all the info out there for everybody. It's like here you go, like an open book into Howard Bender's war room, and these guys aren't reading my stuff, and like all of a sudden they'll be like, oh my god, I couldn't believe that this guy broke out like that. I'm like, because you didn't read anything. Like that's you need to do that. If you've got somebody in your league who actually puts it out there like you
Mm-hmm.
do, you'd be a fool not to. Like you'd be a fool not to tune into this live stream to hear what your methodology is. So yeah, well, I mean, let's for anybody who is watching who plays in a league with Matt Selz, pay attention. Pay attention. All right, so baseball, we don't know when that's gonna start up. Football, we're all got our eye on and hoping for that. If there's something that could start to move up a little faster than some of the games like that, it would be NASCAR. So talk to me here. How, like, have you always been a racing fan? Have you, before you started with Fantasy Alarm, were you like a big NASCAR guy? Were you in on that?
So I wasn't originally that big into NASCAR. I just kind of thought it was one of those sports that fits the, prototypical they just turn left for 500 miles and they keep going type thing. But then in about, I would say, I don't know, 2009, 2010, HBO Sports used to, I don't know if they still do, but they used to have that series 24/7 where they would film typically like boxers leading up to a big fight, like they did it for I think Pacquiao and Mayweather and some other stuff like that. But they also did one on Jimmy Johnson leading up to the Daytona 500, and they followed all the stuff that goes into it. They showed you pit crew training, and like those guys, a lot of them are former D1 athletes, like in football and in basketball. A lot of them are former D1 athletes. Some are former military guys. Um, so that really got me. And then it talked a lot about strategy and like the actual physics involved in the races. And that really piqued my interest because I'm kind of a science guy. And so that really piqued my interest. And then my lovely wife, when we started dating, her uncle, who actually I finally met when Dan Malin and I went to the July Daytona race last year. He was the president of Richmond Raceway at the time. And so her family is huge into NASCAR. They've watched a bunch of races from all over Richmond Raceway, like in the suites, in the from pit road, from the garages. So that started piquing my interest more, and I followed it more regularly and whatnot. And then when DFS started, I was like, okay, we'll try our hand at this because I've been following the sport. I know the drivers. I know kind of the strategy for each of the tracks. And then we started the NASCAR segment here or section on Fantasy Alarm, and I took that over. I think you sent out an email saying, "Does anybody know anything about NASCAR?" And I sent one back saying my
Dude,
knowledge was
you
pretty
can't
strong.
listen. You can't give away my leadership secrets, dude. Come on, come on. I took the time to study to really just each and every one of the guys who was working for Fantasy Alarm, and I investigated all that stuff. Come
So
on,
yeah, so
man.
but now it's really entertaining when I look back at my old because I've saved all the articles that I've written for NASCAR going all the way back to the 2016 season, and I'll look back at those. I'm like, wow, this was some basic information I was putting out 4 years ago compared to what I do now. So it's evolved. My strategy has gotten better. Obviously, apparently my writing has too, uh, based on the fact that the FSWA graciously gave me the Racing Writer of the Year award 2 years in a row. So that's very nice.
Well, dude, your track breakdowns are ridiculous. I mean, if you go through, if anybody, again, this master of the spreadsheet, if you sit there and you look at the track breakdowns and all the work that Matt does. I mean, it's amazing. By the way, you also do that podcast with Dan Malin.
I do.
I wanted to get a take from Dan Malin when you won your second Racing Writer of the Year award, and this from him was I'm just reading. I've got it on my phone. I need to pull it up. It says, "I'm really happy for Matt Selz to win his second FSWA Racing Writer of the Year award. I taught him everything that he knows, and I'm glad to see that he's finally able to take it and run with it." So, explain that to me. Dan Malin as your coach, your mentor. I know, I'm just messing.
Yeah, he's putting me on blast a little bit, but Dan has taken to it really, really well. Ironically, just like every sport, he's won more money than I have using my information. So that's always a good sign when your co-host does better in DFS games than you do. But he cashed in DFS Survivor last week. Like, I'm pretty sure if there was...
he cashed the debates. I cashed in Survivor. Okay. Come on.
Well, okay, but cashing in the debates, I mean, that just goes, like, this guy just wins at everything. So, but yeah, it's really, really fun to cover NASCAR. Actually, it's been weird the last few Sundays not having races to watch. Last Sunday, I watched the iRacing, though, that was televised on TV. That was pretty fun.
Oh yeah, do me a favor. Talk about that for a second, because we are hearing that DraftKings might be dabbling into the whole iRacing DFS
Yeah, they told
world.
me today. Their support thing tweeted at me today and said that they're putting it up on the site now. So watch out for it, I guess. So iRacing is a platform that has been around, I don't know, 20 or 25 years already. Maybe even 30. I mean, it goes back quite a ways. Basically, it's a racing simulator in which you can join people over the internet and have a race with them on actual NASCAR tracks using actual NASCAR setups in the car. It responds just like a NASCAR car would. It's basically the most realistic racing simulation that's ever been put out. And so what's happening now is the Cup drivers, which is the highest level in NASCAR. There's also Xfinity and Truck. Some of those drivers are getting involved too, but they're basically putting on races following the actual NASCAR Cup schedule. So 2 weeks ago, it was supposed to be Atlanta. They held a virtual race at Atlanta. Last weekend, it was televised on FS1 with the actual Fox broadcast crew.
Right, I saw that.
At Miami Homestead, which was supposed to be the race last Sunday. This Sunday, it's going to be televised on Fox, on actual network television. And they're going to be racing at Texas Motor Speedway, which is where they would be racing this Sunday. So it's pretty fun. I mean, it's not exactly like, a NASCAR race, obviously, because it's computer simulated and glitches do happen, but it's about as close as we're going to get for a little while at this point. So
what would be your trade-off then? Like, when you're doing the analysis, Texas Motor Speedway, the track breakdown, all of that. Obviously, it's a simulation situation here. So how would you attack this from a DFS standpoint as far as recommending drivers?
So we'll first have to see what the point system looks like, because I don't know if they're going to hold the same point system as they previously have. I believe in their other sports, the simulated NBA and stuff, I think they're holding the same, but I don't know if they're doing the same lineup construction and whatnot. So we'll have to see. But there are stats available for how guys have done in iRacing. Previously, chalk play almost every week is going to be William Byron, because that guy literally, and I mean this in the actual literal sense of literally,
not the millennial sense.
Yeah, he literally learned how to drive a race car playing iRacing. He started like 5-6 years ago playing iRacing and got so good that he actually got a contract to be a full-time driver, and then spent 1 year at each level and worked his way up to the Cup Series 2 years ago. And the guy was 20 years old driving a Cup car, while also, by the way, being an online student in college during the day. So, yeah, he's pretty good at iRacing. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is also really good at iRacing. Denny Hamlin won last week's race. He's really good at iRacing. So And some of these guys are tweeting out their practice times too on like Saturdays, so that's something to pay attention to. I mean, it'll be a little different approach. I'm not going to do the full track breakdown because obviously real life track stats don't really.
Different story, sure.
Yeah. But yeah, so a lot of it's going to come from trolling Twitter and looking up their practice times and whatnot. But it should be pretty fun.
So now I'm curious because now all of a sudden now I want you to start iRacing, dude, because I think with your knowledge of the tracks and whatnot, why don't you learn to drive via iRacing, like Byron did, and then turn around and where you can be like a real live Cole Trickle, baby. Come on,
I don't know
Days
if I
of
can
Thunder
get.
got nothing on you.
I don't know if I can get good enough to go replace my favorite driver of all time who's retiring. Or hold on, he might not be retiring at the end of the 2020 season. It depends on how many races they get in. Jimmy Johnson is my favorite driver of all time. He said he was going to retire at the end of the 2020 season. And then on Twitter, like last week, he goes, well, it kind of depends on how many races we miss because I might want to come back for some more. So
Why don't we reach out to Jimmy Johnson and say, why don't you be my iRacing
he's not very
mentor?
good. He got lapped last week and then crashed out a third of the field so badly that other drivers were like, you might want to digitally retire early and just get it over with. So yeah, Jimmy Johnson not great at iRacing. Uh, I'm not sure why, but apparently he couldn't find the gas pedal. It appeared.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Unbelievable. All right. Well, there. See, now I've got hope for you, man. I'm thinking, I'm moving, I'm grooving. This intrigues me now. This entire concept of learning how to, like, the fact that you just told me that there's somebody who learned how to drive via iRacing gives me hope.
There
Gives
you
me
go.
I can't do it. I'm too fat to do it. So I'm not going to lose the weight to be able to actually get into a race car. They squeeze through the window like that. I'm not gonna be able to do it. You, on the other hand, I think you could do it. I think you got that in you. I think this is a project now the FA family needs to get behind. If we know anybody in NASCAR, if we know anybody who's involved in NASCAR and iRacing, hit us up. I'm at Roto Buzz Guy. He's at the Selzman. I want to get in on this one. I definitely want to get in on this. Oh, Jen Piacenti floating around in the Periscope room. Are you ready?
This is gonna be good.
I don't know if it's going to be that good because I mean, it's Jen. She's got no personality whatsoever. How
I
many
got
Excel
the spreadsheet
spreadsheets have
too.
you started since starting quarantine?
How many Excel spreadsheets have I started?
Yes,
Um,
ballpark it.
how many do I have? I have a lot more floating around in my head than I actually have in Excel because I like to think about how I'm going to lay them out before I actually start it.
I do
But
that too, but only when I'm like, you know,
I
in
started your wife's dog
relations with my
walking.
wife. It kind of keeps my mind occupied.
I started the custom one for your wife's dog walking business. Um, which now I have, I guess, a little bit more time because you're not allowed to walk dogs outside there in California. Apparently, you're all
Don't be
locked
mean.
down.
Be mean.
um, I don't know. I've probably started like 7 or 8. Started messing around with NFL ones.
All right, so 7 or 8. So here you go. Next question: do you ever run out of colors when color coding?
Ooh. Um, I have once.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's a lot.
I had to adjust. I had to adjust the range that I was using. Uh, yeah.
All right, and then finally, if you could choose only one, would you be a race car driver or a baseball player?
I would be a professional baseball player in a heartbeat.
Well, all right, I need to know why.
So I played Little League. I played all the way up until high school. I have always wanted to be a major league pitcher. That's just, I really like to be a pitcher. Plus, I'm left-handed, so it limits the positions that I can play, like in the field. But left-handed pitchers are always in demand, so I'd have job security. Um,
Did you play baseball growing up?
I did. I played baseball all the way up to high school, and then when I got to high school, I actually coached Little League. Played some club baseball at K State. Um, yeah, And every year the draft comes around, it's kind of one of those things like, I wish I had put more time into baseball because I think I probably could have been pretty decent at it. I have pretty good wheels. I ran cross country and track in high school. I was also like not just distance, but like I did some sprint events. So I had some pretty decent wheels. I had a pretty good arm from right field. When I got to college, I played intramural softball and found out I'm actually a really good second baseman, but you would never put a lefty at second base on a baseball diamond because the extra step costs you chances to throw out base runners. So, but yeah, I have pretty decent array of pitches. My best pitch is probably a knuckle curveball. I just really like that one.
In the spirit of R.A. Dickey. Yeah, well, I mean, listen,
no, I actually can't throw a knuckleball. Those things are ridiculously hard to throw, but I can throw a knuckle curve pretty well.
Well, yeah, pretty much any pitch that bounces in the dirt 100 different ways, I can turn around and say, yeah, I got a great knuckleballer. You never know.
No, I mean, I can put this in the strike zone. I mean, I haven't thrown it in a while, but I used to be able to put it in the strike zone. I don't know if I still could because it, haven't played in a while.
How fast could you throw? What'd you top out on your fastball?
I mean, I was like in the low 80s. It wasn't like I didn't have heat. It was more like a command and control type, like a lefty Kyle Hendricks.
Like a lefty Kyle Hendricks. I would have, I mean, if you're going to talk about command specialist, I would have at least given myself the Maddox call.
I'm not that good. No, like man, and I also didn't grease the umpires with a 6-inch wider strike zone in every direction than any other pitcher got. So,
Oh, see, this is what I love about you because I know when I hear stuff like this, I know that I can push buttons with you. I know I can. You get worked up better than anybody else, and we've seen it. I've seen it on like
table that discussion.
Table that discussion. You get worked up, dude. You take this stuff crazy serious sometimes.
Well, it costs teams actual playoff spots in games. So I don't understand why. Like, if I'm getting paid that much money, I should be right at my job more than like 50% of the time.
So this is why you're totally in favor of robo umps.
They still need some tweaking, but yes, I am more in favor of robo umps than I am. Like, Angel Hernandez by himself proves the need for robo umps. Like, he's just terrible at everything on a baseball diamond.
What was the dumbest thing anybody's ever said to you about baseball that has gotten you so crazy worked up you couldn't stop? Like, somebody had to be like, Matt, calm down.
Oh, it happened. It happened this postseason, actually. I almost got half of my wife's family to stop talking to me, which I actually liked this half of the family. It was the other half that I had. That's a story for another time. But
yeah, they can see that.
Yeah. But basically, yeah, so I root for the Yankees and I root for the Nationals. I know you have an inherent issue with that, but I was born in the New York area. My family is.
I actually don't have an issue with that. I only know I said that I had an issue with it because I know it pisses you off. I got to be honest with you. I'm a needler. I poked the bear in the zoo for no good reason whatsoever.
My defense is they're in two separate leagues, so I actually don't watch when the Yankees and Nats play each other because it's hard for me to pick who I would want to win. Like, if it was ever a Yankees-Nats World Series, I would have a serious issue because I
don't take it to that extreme. Like, for me, my National League team, the team that I like or that I did like growing up were the Reds. It was like the Big Red Machine and the Reds of the 70s. So they've always been. And now that the Reds actually like
5 Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
5 Hall of Fame infielders.
So to know that now all of a sudden they've got like legitimacy here again with the way that they've made the move. But for me, if it was the Yankees and the Reds in the World Series, I wouldn't bat an eye. It's got to be the Yankees. It's always got to be the Yankees.
Well, now that the Nats have a World Series, it's probably easier for me to pick. But prior to this past year, yeah, Jen's going to hate that because Jen's an Astros fan. It was quite fun not talking to Ryan Hallam and Jen for like a month because Hallam's a Cardinals fan who the Nats had to play in the NLCS. And then Jen is an Astros fan. So that was a fun World Series to go back and forth. But yeah, so Anthony Rendon started the World Series off Not so great, and it was kind of frustrating to me because it didn't look like he was doing what he normally does. It looks like he was fishing for pitches and not waiting for his. So I made the comment. I was like, "Can we please just get in the cage and refine your, get back to what got you here and just, settle in and whatever." And that apparently pissed my in-laws off so bad that like one of them literally blocked me for a month because they're like, "I don't want to hear bad talk." I'm like, I'm not bad talk. I said he did well to get here. I want him to do better because there's a finite amount of games in the series. You can't just like wait for it to happen. He's got to, he's the heart of the offense. He's got to do something. And then still to this day, if I say something good about Rendon, they'll still go, "Oh, I thought you didn't like him." Okay, let's
which just
not go there.
which just needles you even more. So there you go. See that
Yeah.
now? Actually, now I'm going to be plotting against you, and of course, at whatever
I will,
family.
however, be watching Angels games late, like because I'm in the Central Time Zone, so I can actually watch 2 baseball games a night because I get the East Coast. I can finish a full East Coast game and then get the full West Coast game in before I would go to sleep. So I'll probably be watching a lot of Angels games because I really do like Anthony Rendon, and that lineup's going to be real fun to watch with Trout and Rendon and Ohtani and Justin Upton, and yeah, that's a pretty loaded lineup.
All right, so an Anthony Rendon Angels jersey, Matt Selz, Christmas.
Harper would love that.
Or Hanukkah. Harper, I'm not gonna. What are you talking about? What's Harper done for you? Is Harper doing any work for Fantasy Alarm yet?
No, that would break child labor laws.
I don't care about child labor laws. I'll deny it. Plausible deniability. Does she wear Fantasy Alarm gear?
She has worn my hats out to baseball games, yes.
Okay, I need pictures of that to show that she's actually doing some advertising work for us. You're gonna have to do that. Do like one of those like daddy-daughter things where you guys are like, yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't be a problem if she likes to take pictures. She jacks my phone and takes pictures with it all the time.
All right. So how do you like being a dad? Let's talk about this one here because obviously you're sitting down. This is the perfect time for me to ask this question because you're homeschooling now.
Yes.
It's obviously it's probably getting on your nerves at this point. So tell me, Matt, how do you like being a dad?
It's great until they get you more sick than you've ever been in your life. Yeah, that's fun. I never used to get sick that often. Then I had kids, and now I get sick like all the time. But no, it's great. Every day is a new adventure. We'll put it that way. The attitude that they come with, I was not prepared for. That's fun. And the youngest one is also a ginger who tends to have my stubbornness. Yeah, that's not fun when you add in the extra fire of redheads.
Do you catch her trying to steal your soul at any point? Because I hear that's what gingers do.
She's getting close. Why do you think I drink like 5 minutes after they go to bed? I have to replenish my soul.
There you go.
Yeah. I've not tried a White Claw yet. I will not stoop to that level. Unlike Hallam.
I did the White Claw at the FSGA. I mean, it's barely alcohol.
Yeah,
barely alcohol.
Isn't it seltzer though?
It is. It's like
I don't like
seltzer
seltzer to begin with.
Oh well, then
there you go.
No. Then why would you even contemplate?
Even though it has my last name in it, I don't like it.
Your last name is White Claw?
No, Seltzer. My last name is Selz, so Seltzer.
It isn't Seltzer SELTZ?
Yeah, you take out the T. How many
times I gotta shift around letters and stuff?
How many times do you think I got mail addressed to me with a T in it?
I don't know. How many times?
A lot. I got a report card from school that had a T on it. And I'm like, how do you mess that up?
Well, there you go.
People mispronounce my last name all the time.
Matt Selz. It's really easy to do, guys. SELZ. Follow him on Twitter at the Selz Man.
Our original last name was Mashotsky, so have fun spelling that one.
Mashotsky. MISHOTSKY. Mashotsky.
Close, but there's an A.
Why would there be an A in there? I'm sounding it out.
Ma.
Oh, it's Mashotsky, not Mishotsky.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Mental note.
Do you remember Selz shoes?
No. Sells
Sells brand of
shoes?
shoes.
No. What'd they look like?
They were like a whole brand that was sold in like all the way up until like I don't know the 50s, I think.
I'm Googling it right now. Sells shoes. Are you related in any way?
That's why my last name is Selz. We're not related, but my distant relative sold Selz shoes and changed the name because it was easier to pronounce than Mashatsky.
Okay.
Or at least that's the family story we are told.
What was their what was without looking it up right now? Put your hands up like this, so you can't be googling it. Put your hands up.
No, I'm not Googling.
Put your hands up. What was Sells Shoes' tagline?
Something about making your feet glad.
There it is, baby. Look
Yeah.
at that.
We have signage in my parents' basement of like a foot with a smile on it.
I
It
like
says
this.
Sell shoes, make your feet glad, I think.
Yep. You know what? It's Sells Shoes, make your feet glad. But even better is I'm looking now. There's a an advertisement when it's Shoeless Joe Jackson.
Oh, that's a good one.
When he wears them, Shoeless Joe Jackson wears Sells Shoes, make your
That's
feet glad.
that's the best advertisement I've ever seen in my life.
That's pretty damn good. That's pretty damn good.
Get a guy
Sells
with constant bone spurs to wear shoes. That's a good one.
Wow. See, look at that. A little piece of history that nobody knew in the family. That's what these are all about, people. That's what these are all about. It's a little get to know you kind of thing. Matt, anything else that you'd like to information you might want to divulge to the rest of the family out there? And if you want to say something mean about Drew Phelps, you can do that too because you're related.
I actually don't. I'm in the home. I'm in that the home football league that I'm in is Drew and a couple other cousins of Jackie's, and that's a fun one. Though we need to get the
What's
rule
Drew
changed.
like? Is he a tough competitor or is he just a mush? Is he?
No,
I feel like he's a
pretty good.
donator.
He's pretty good.
Yeah.
I lost to him in the playoffs last year. We were both pretty high. The problem that he and I have is that we need to get the format changed to 3 wide receiver league instead of a 2 wide receiver league. Because somehow he and I always wind up loaded at wide receiver and we can't play all of them. So we wind up having like guys that are wide receiver one capable have to sit on the bench because we have 2 better ones.
Why don't you trade them?
People don't like to trade in that league.
You're
People get
offering
all
a
up in
number one wide receiver. Lower your asking price a little bit.
why should I?
Why
If I
should
have all the wide receiver ones and you need one, my asking price is going to be pretty good.
they ain't doing you no good on the bench though? I mean,
Nobody trades in this league though. Like literally the last 2 trades that we had last year, which I thought were pretty even, people threw an absolute fit about because somebody dared to trade.
so then why don't you draft all the wide receivers? Why don't you let Drew draft all the running backs? Come on.
We should try that next year.
Cheat the family, baby. Cheat your own family. Cheat your cousins.
Yeah, I mean they're pretty good at cheating at board games, but I guess not fantasy football.
See, there it is, man. There it is. Absolutely. I love it. I love it.
The cheat game is strong with my youngest one too, because we played pin the tail on the donkey for Harper's birthday on Sunday, and she kept the blindfold on. The youngest one kept the blindfold on all the way until she got to the donkey, and then lifted it up and then pinned the tail exactly where it's supposed to go, and she was very proud of herself.
You ain't cheating, you ain't trying. That's basically what it comes down to,
So
right?
I guess she's gonna be a Patriots fan when she grows up. So I'm gonna have to change that.
Little dig on Malin and Impemba all at once. I'm loving that.
I'm a Jets fan, so
I know it sucks, doesn't it? It's like a nightmare.
I mean, without Brady, maybe there's a chance, but we still have Adam Gase, so there goes that shot.
We're never winning.
I'd rather have the trash can the Astros bashed than Adam Gase.
Again. All right, so now you've dogged Phelps, you've dogged Impemba, you've dogged Malin and Piacenti. Is there anybody else you want to crap on that you haven't done so yet?
I like Grande too much to crap on him.
Well, you like that because now finally somebody else in the family has kids, and you can deal with that.
I did point out to him that he named his kid an appropriate name that he hadn't even thought of. Is hilarious. Because his kid's initials are OG. And I was like, did you intentionally give the kid the initials OG so if or when you have a second, the first one would still be the OG? And he goes, I hadn't even thought about that, but that's awesome.
He feels good about it. What are the chances that he actually told that to Bree? None.
Not a chance. I told him distinctly not to tell Bree.
Oh man! Well, you guys at home, you guys will get a chance to meet James Grande actually this Friday. Tomorrow you've got meet Ryan Hallam. Friday it's James Grande. We got other videos planned. Me and Jen Piacenti, me and Adam Ronis, because neither one of them want to work with Matt Selz on camera because he's dogging everybody.
Oh,
but we're gonna have all of this.
Very nice to Jen. I gave her a draft spreadsheet for the league she's in with Rick Wolf.
You also told her it was not fun talking to her. You said it right here. She's actually got it in the chat room. It was fun not talking to me. So not speaking to her, that was a good time.
During a stressful World Series.
During a stressful World
Series. It was nuts. That World Series was crazy.
A bunch of cheaters against the Nationals. The good team won. There you go.
Yeah, but it went the home team lost every one. That was nuts.
That was kind of crazy. That was. All right. Well,
that's going to do it. If I hadn't stood in the exact same spot the entire playoffs. I watched every game standing up, standing in the exact same position.
Are you really that superstitious?
Yes.
Seriously?
It goes, yeah. And it's not just for baseball either. Do you remember several years ago, Rutgers football team was ranked number 2 in the country?
No, I don't. I never remember a time when that happened. Was that Was that when like CCNY was winning the NCAA tournament too? This is the 1920s you're talking about? Rutgers?
Rutgers was number 2 in the country in the mid 2000s.
Were they?
Football? Yeah.
When
they had Ray Rice at running back before he did what he did. And they had the McCourty twins in the defensive backfield. They played Louisville in a game that was, I think, number 1 and number 2, or number 2 and number 3 in the country. And I watched that game in the exact same position on the couch because I wanted Rutgers to win. And when I sat down, they were winning, so I did not change position. Yes, I will watch sporting events from the exact same position. And if it's not going well, I will change positions and find one that makes it go well. Because I am superstitious.
He is superstitious. He is all knowledgeable. And the man can create spreadsheets like nobody's business. He's also sick 85% of the time because he's got kids. So
I'm still working through
it. Big thanks to Matt Selz for joining us here today, sharing a little bit of his life with all you guys. Please, I implore you, follow him on Twitter at the Salesman. You can get some spreadsheet info from him if you like. I know that he's more than happy to do that. He's just sitting around now homeschooling his kids and doing a bunch of day drinking. So by all means, make that happen.
And I occasionally work for Fantasy Align.
Occasionally right now. Just every once in a while. Every once in a while, he pops up in our group chat being like, oh, hey, guys, what's up? You guys got some work for me to do? Hardest working man there is this side of the Mississippi. Matt, thank you so much for joining us today, man. Really appreciate that. Appreciate everything that you do over at Fantasy Alarm. You know that. I don't want to tell you that you're one of my favorites, but you're one of my favorites, but don't tell anybody else.
Plus, I know my job is safe because nobody else figures out spreadsheets.
That's the first mistake right there, is that thinking that you're indispensable. There's always another nerd on the way, buddy.
Oh, I'm sure there is. That's why I keep learning Excel.
Oh my God, I don't know if I could survive without you. So no, always got a home with me, my friend. You always have a home with me. Folks, thanks so much for tuning in on the Meet the Family Fantasy Alarm live stream. Big thanks to our producer, Matt Wolf, for taking the tech reins today, because that's usually what Matt Selz is doing when we're doing all these. So for Matt Selz, Matt Wolf, everybody at the Fantasy Alarm family, thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.